Hello everyone and welcome back for another episode of Hearthstone Ladder Climb. My name is Ikkaris, this is Ikkaris Gaming, and today we're actually taking a little bit of a break from our regular kind of gameplay reviews. Today we're busting out something that's been pretty fun to play. It's a pretty fun little cheeky combo deck that's making the rounds. We are playing the MechaThun Druid deck. It's a combo deck. OTK combo. This deck recipe, have to give credit to Disguised Toast, one of my favorite Hearthstone streamers out there. Not sure if this recipe was cooked up directly by him or if it's something that he kind of found and went with, but this is the first time that I saw it was on his page. So getting into it, it's a combo deck. So what we want to do, and Druid has a lot of tools to do this, is try to cycle all of our cards as quickly as possible to get it down to just 3 cards in our hand on our last turn. That's MechaThun, Innervate, and Naturalize. Now we have quite a few tools to do this. You can see the Cavern Shiny Finder that the Rogue plays. Now, one thing we're keeping an eye out here for is this is a Kingsbane Rogue. Kingsbane was pretty popular months ago. Hasn't really seen too much play. I think it's just too slow for a lot of the aggro decks that are out there. So turn 3, we play Ferocious Howl. Obviously giving us a ton of armor. This deck has a lot of armor gain to basically sustain you through the game to get you to be able to land the combo at the end. And we can see there that it was in fact Spectral Cutlass that our opponent is playing, so that we can assume that they have a lot of tools, especially with the Blink Fox there. A lot of tools to get cards from our class to increase the durability. We're in pretty good shape here. We've gained quite a bit of armor. We draw the card with the other half of the branching paths. We can set ourselves up next turn for Nourish. We could also do Gadgetzan Auctioneer, which is actually one of the linchpins of this deck, is being able to play the Gadgetzan Auctioneer and mill through all your card draw with low cost spells. We used the swipe there instead on the Ixlid, the Fungal Lord, just because we don't want to get outnumbered too early into this matchup here. So that's the logic behind dropping the swipe. So we've got a full hand here. Now we can kind of go to town with the Gadgetzan Auctioneer. We can play that with the Innervate, get the extra mana crystal. We do have Biology Project, but I think we decided to go Barkskin here just to give us ourselves a little bit more durability, just to stay on the board for a little bit longer. We play the coin, another Barkskin onto the Gadgetzan Auctioneer. And now, one thing and the reason that this is in the casual queue as opposed to ranked, is that this deck is pretty easy to play around if you know what you're up against. It relies on your opponent getting rid of all your minions for you, because obviously MechaThun's Death Rattle, you can't have any cards in your hand, any cards in your deck, and no minions on the board. So it can be a little bit tricky if your opponent just decides to not attack your minions. So we do have tools to erase our own minions, to kind of to kill our own in case we have to, but it can be tricky. So the idea is to always try to bait your opponent into killing your minions for you. And you can see here with the combo and Eviscerate, and with the beefed up Spectral Cutlass, he's kind of doing it for us. Not the end of the world. This is actually pretty good for us because we've got a full hand here. We've got Malfurion the Pestilent, which we're going to have to play. We've got another Nourish for some card draw. We're in good shape here. We've got removal tools with the Jasper Spellstones that are going to be upgraded here in a second with the armor gain from playing Malfurion. So we go with the 2 Scarabs, and again, this is part of the idea of, this deck has a lot of armor gain and sustain to be able to get you into the end game, so that you can pull off the OTK combo. So again, we're not too concerned here. Our opponent, you know, putting up taunt minions, especially these sticky 1/5 scarabs, is good for us. Our opponent has to waste resources on getting rid of the scarabs instead of focusing on hitting face. So you know, we're again in a pretty good spot here. Of course, the Vile Spine Slayer, again, not a huge problem. You know, we have removal tools. We can get rid of it right away with our Jasper Spellstones. The other option that this deck runs is the Wild Pyromancer. Now, we don't have any bark skins because we used it on our first Gadgetzan Auctioneer, but that's okay. It usually just gives you an extra, more durability on the Wild Pyromancer to be able to clear out more minions. But we don't really need it in this case. You know, what we're doing now is just basically cycling through our deck as fast as possible with the Gadgetzan Auctioneer. We go ahead and get rid of his. Again, I think we're not too worried about the Vile Spine Slayer getting shadow stepped and coming back in, because that helps us anyway. We do have, in fact, the OTK combo now. We have the MechaThun, we have Innervate, and we have Naturalize. So at this point, it's about dumping our hand and cycling through our deck as quickly as possible. So, you know, we're going to be thinking about whatever we need to do to clear the minions off the board in order to not take as much face damage. And then whenever we can gain armor, we're going to be gaining whenever possible. So we go with the Wild Pyromancer, the Spellstone, get rid of the Auctioneer. We can do some damage to his minions. Now, we're not going to be able to clear the Vile Spine Slayer, but we could play, we could use the Naturalize, which is fine because it gets rid of the Vile Spine Slayer, clears the board, and it forces our opponent to overdraw. We use the Nourish to draw 3 cards, cycle through these. And again, now we're just playing cards just to get them off the board. Next turn, we're definitely going to be thinking Wild Pyromancer, possibly Claw, definitely Branching Paths to gain some armor. Can't quite tell how many cards are in the deck right now. I haven't really checked, and again, with the double Giggling Inventor, this makes Wild Pyromancer even better. We can drop the Wild Pyromancer down and then start dropping spells. Now, all these Divine Shields are about to go away. It's unfortunate we don't have Swipe. Swipe would be huge against this. It would basically just clear the board. But that's okay. You know, we have plenty of spells that we can start dropping. We can use Wrath. Get rid of one of the Annoyatrons. Now I just got 3 left. Drop the 1 damage. And then again, we can play, you know, Wild Growth into excess mana. Cycle our last card. So we are going to go into Fatigue here on this next turn, but we're banking on our opponent not being able to deal enough damage in one turn to kill us. You see the play of the Lyra of the Hollow, which again helps us, as kind of buys us a turn. We're only going to take 2 damage here from the Annoyatrons. Doubtful that he's going to play the Spectral Cutlass because he's only got 1 durability left. He's going to want to use it on a high-value target. Now, fortunately for us, we're not going to give him that. He's already cleared off all of our minions, so we don't have to worry about that. And so this is where we go into Fatigue. We use the Nourish to gain 2 mana crystals because we don't want to draw 3 cards and fatigue ourselves. So we do that, we armor up, and now we're just waiting. We have the combo, we can pull it off next turn, and we are banking on the fact that our opponent will probably not be able to deal 49 damage in 1 turn. That's kind of the way that this deck goes. It's just, you don't really worry about what your opponent is doing. It's mostly about taking care of what you need to do, get your combo pieces, and then just cycle through your entire deck. And I think our opponent might know. He might have an idea of kind of what's coming, which is why he's kind of loading up the board. Again, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant at this point. The game is won. So you know, we're just, and now, you know, we take our extra fatigue damage. Not a big deal.
Masterful.
A little bit of flourish there with the hero emote. Play the MechaThun, the Innervate, Naturalize, and watch the fireworks. And again, you know, we're playing this in the casual queue instead of the ranked queue because when people see that you're obviously setting up a MechaThun deck, it's very obvious to know when it's coming, especially if you're in Druid. The deck list is pretty common, and it's fairly easy to play around. People just won't play minions. They won't clear your minions, and you're just kind of stuck. So keep an eye out on the next one. We're actually going to have another little bonus episode on this MechaThun deck, so stay tuned.